this one. Okay, so the second portion of the training that we were going to go through today, and just make sure I have a list of everything we're covering, we're going to look at importing questions, creating question banks, how the automatic feedback works, and then the rich text editor feature in there as well. So we're going to look at those. I've put a good number of resources. If you go back, if you refresh the page, you're going to see that it's changed just a little bit. I put all of the first portion of what we talked about into a folder. It says part one. And then in the second portion, we're going to take a look at the assessment features. If you have not used the assessment generator very much, there's some stuff in here that may be helpful in terms of creating test and quizzes, the different question types, how you can use weight factoring and that sort of thing.
Daniel,
Yes.
I just want to confirm that the session is being recorded.
Yes, it is.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep. And as soon as I get done converting these, what I will do is I'll send them to Gina, and she should share the link with you. I'll put it in my Google Drive and make it shareable so that you guys can pull it up and download it and save it. So we're going to take a look at. Let me ask real quickly before we even go this far. Has everybody in here done at least used an assessment in their class through Schoology?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure before I make any assumptions as to what experience level we have.
They may not have used them, but they've built them.
Okay.
Work done.
Okay. So okay. So what I'm going to show you first is how to save a test to a bank or questions to a bank, and how to save a test or a quiz, or I actually prefer just to call it assessment generator because you can use it for anything from a daily response to a major test. And it really, I mean, it all depends on how you weight it. So if you weight it as the equivalent to just a daily grade kind of assignment, then it doesn't count as a test. So I really like the idea of just referring to it as an assessment generator because it makes it a little more. You don't think that it's only usable for a major grade. So what you can do, and I'm going to go back to the folder here. If you make a test and you are completely done with it, you're happy with everything you've done, then you come over here on that right-hand side and you can copy this to your resources. You just come down to the bottom, hit Save to Resources, and then you're going to pick which collection you want to put it into. Now, what I personally have found works best is to organize your resources in a way that if you teach multiple courses, you're going to want to put those resources in a folder for that particular course. So let me show you real quickly how I set it up. And this is very individual. It depends on how you prefer to organize your content. For me, I create a collection, what's referred to as a collection, which is this kind of cardboard box looking icon up here with a plus. And I create a collection for each individual course that I teach. Once you do that, you can choose which of these collections you want your content to go into. The best thing I can equate this to is your resources are file cabinet. Your collections are kind of the drawer for that individual file cabinet. And then your folders here. So if I click Theater 1, I have folders for my units. Those are like having folders in the drawers in your file cabinet. And again, it's very individualized. However you prefer to organize it, you can do it however you want to. But if you have that done, then once you have created an assessment that you want to keep, let's say that this sample assessment 1, or sample test, I think is what I called it. Let's say I want to keep this. I'm happy with everything I did. I put all my content together. I want to save this to my resources. So all I would do is come down here to Save to Resources. I'm going to go to Collection and pick which one I want to use it in. So if it's a Theater 1, my introductory level, and then you can even select which unit it would go in. So if you have all of your units labeled in, then you would just hit Save Copy. And now that is going to be permanently saved into my personal resources. As long as I have this account, it's not going anywhere. So I can come down here now, and I now have that test organized where I can find it for any course that I want to use it for. You can also go here in your resources when you find that file and hit add to course, and then you're just going to select which course you want it to go to, and then which folder you want to put it in. So if you have a folder that you want to stick it into, you just put it there. Course materials, whatever it is. So let's say I want to put this one in that particular folder, and you can go ahead and set your due date and your grading category and everything based on that class.
We actually have a question.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
So can you save an assessment just generally to your resources, or does it have to be assigned to a course?
No, it can go directly into your resources. Your default location is just this home resource folder. And anytime you add something to it, it's always going to go to the bottom. So I'll show you what that looks like. Let's say I do the same thing I just did. I want to go in here into my assessment features, and I'm going to save this to my resources, but I don't want to have to put it in any folder. Maybe I just teach one course. If you see home, it's automatically going into that particular. So if I hit save copy, go to my personal resources, and now I scroll all the way to the bottom, I now have that test. So you don't have to organize it. It's entirely up to you how much you want to organize your resources. The more sections or courses that you teach, it probably becomes more valuable to do more in terms of organizing those resources. But if you don't feel like you need to do that, it is entirely individualized. It's entirely up to you how you choose to organize those resources and where you want to put your material. Okay, any other questions about that particular part? Okay, now let me show you how to pull that in, since we're talking about importing and saving things to question banks. If you want to go to your course, let's say this is a new course that I just created, and I want to import an assessment that I used last year that I like. I don't want to have to create it from scratch. You go to add materials, and you can actually import a test from your resources. And again, it's going to be at the very bottom because that's where it was created. And I'm just going to hit import. And it gives you some advanced options. If you want to go ahead and set your due date without having to go in and do it manually, you can do that. You can set it however you want. And then you hit import. And now it's part of your course. And you'll also see it sets the due date automatically in upcoming events over here as well. Okay, so once you've created those tests, it's really, really vital that you go through and save them to your resources so that you don't have to, you don't archive. Now, I will say this, you can always get to a course even when it's archived. There's always a way to get to your material, but it's much more complicated. So if you just get in the habit of doing that, it does make your life much, much easier.
We do have one more question.
Yes.
So, you demonstrated how you can pull from your resources.
Yes.
Can you put something from a course into a resource?
Yes. So anything that you create can be saved to your resources. So if I want to save this particular link or this page, you come over here, and anything that you create, whether it be a link, a page, a file, anything that you create in a course can be saved to your resources. All you do is click that menu, the drop-down menu on the right-hand side, and go to the very bottom and click Save to Resources. You tell them where to put it, and then hit Save a Copy. And that's all you have to do. It'll automatically go into your resources. Now, courses typically about 3 to 4 days after the final grades are due and everything is processed, courses are archived. So they're not going to consistently show up under your courses. But resources don't change from year to year. So if you save your course to your resources, it's not going anywhere. That's permanently attached to your account. Now, the other option, and this is something that I do every year, and I always recommend teachers do this. At the end of the year, if you've really worked for a full semester on developing everything you want in that course, and you don't want to have to recreate it, right here at the top under options, you can save the entire course to your resources. And when you do, it will look exactly like what you have on the screen when you save it. Okay?
One for you.
And that can save you a major headache of having to go back in and re-import and individually do all of it.
The online classes, we will take care of that in our office. The face-to-face classes, that's by faculty members. Yep.
Okay.
So if you force the resources, then how does it come up the next time? Shouldn't it come up the same way? It has to be saved. The question was, if you don't save it to resources, won't it automatically come up the same way? But you have to save it so you can pull it down.
Yes, but let me show you what it looks like. So here's what I would recommend. I'm going to create a new course just to show you the process. Yours will probably be automatically created for you. You won't have to go through this, but I'm going to show you just kind of how this would work. So that's it. I'm going to say professional development, level 9, and these are just kind of generic settings. You shouldn't have to worry about this. You have a student information system that ought to pull this information for you. What you would do is go to Add Materials and Import from Resources. And what you're going to see is that each course that you save is going to be in a folder, but it's going to be labeled whatever the course was. Okay? So for instance, this one is just a basic Schoology course that I've created. I am not going to click right here, and here's why. If you come over here and click on your link, then you have all of your material the way you had it organized. So what I personally prefer to do, instead of clicking right here, let me show you what happens. If I click right here and I tell it I want to import, and you'll see there's 102 items in this file. It's fairly large, so sometimes it takes a minute or two to import in. And it may take a minute or two to do that. But when it comes up, it's going to show that single folder on the page. Okay, I'm going to import both ways. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So then if I click right here, and I click the box up here that selects all, and I import that way, it's going to tell me these are all the files and the links and everything else that it wants to import. Okay, it's not going to import each individual file in a list like that. It's going to put them in the folders just like you had them, but you're saying you want all of this. Okay, so it's going to take it just a second to load up. And now you see everything in this new sample course is right here organized the way I had it on the page. So if I go into the first folder, I've got all the files, all the videos, everything else I had. And I don't have to worry about pulling it all back out again. Okay, but this is the single folder I did. So here's why I do it that way. All of this now is in that folder. So if I did not import these individually, I would just have this folder. So what it would look like would be this. Give me just a second to delete these off. I'll show you the difference. So I don't want to have to go through and reorganize each of these folders. But if I click on the folder icon and not go into the folder and get them individually, the only thing that's going to show up, oh, not what I wanted, is this folder. So initially, I just clicked on the folder and told them, I clicked on the checkbox beside the folder and said I wanted to import that folder to the course. But now what I have to do is go manually move each one of these out of that folder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you import, you don't want to import the folder itself, because then it's all you're gonna have to manually drag everything out of it, which makes things a lot more complicated. So what you want to do instead is import from your resources and actually click on the title of the folder, see all of the unit folders or the sections, whatever it is you want to do, click on that and import those. And instead of having to pull everything out, it's going to put it on your course page exactly like you had it. And the larger the course content is, the more time it'll take. But generally, it's pretty quick. So now this course is set up exactly like my previous course was, and I don't have to go back through and reorganize everything. Okay. Any questions on that?
Yep, if the modifications happen, which they naturally do from semester to semester, at the end of each semester, you just want to save up into those resources.
Yes.
Is that right?
And what I would do is, if I want to save this course to resources, okay, I'm going to put it in my training courses, and I'm going to pick a folder. I'm going to submit. Now, what I would want to do is at the end of the year, I would do this. At the beginning of the next year, I would go in to my training courses, and I'm going to see, this is, it's not up here yet. It just takes it a few minutes to upload. So let's say I'm using the managing and using rubrics in Schoology, and I want to use the same content, but at the end of next year, I have new content that I've added to it. I've tweaked what I like about it throughout the year. You can save a new folder, and then you would just want to go to the previous one and delete it. It's not going to overwrite anything. That way, if you accidentally save the wrong course or something, it's not going to overwrite what you've previously done. You just want to go look at the most recent, and you can see here you have the dates. So if there's another one that says it was added today, it's going to have today's date. I know that's the newer one. I want to get rid of the old one, delete it, and then I would import the newest one for the following school year. Okay. Does that make sense? It can get a little bit technical, but it's not too bad. You can see here, so this is the one I just uploaded today. So if at the end of next year I had another one that was similar to this and I had tweaked it and I changed it, then I would just look for an updated date at the bottom here, and I would go in and delete this one. Just like that. So you would have the most recent one showing at the bottom. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, let's talk for a few minutes about specifically importing and using assessments. And this is basically the same features that we were just talking about. When you create a test, each question can be saved in its own in a question bank. Okay, so let's say you create 300 questions, and you give the students a list of these 300 questions, but you're only going to use 100 of them. You don't want to use all of them, and you want to randomize how it's going to be done. All you would do here is you can go in from Import Question Bank, and I'm not sure that I have an active one on here. We'll look and see. I do. Okay, good. So this is a question bank. So I would come over here, and there's only 2 questions in here, but let's say I want to use this one. I don't want to use this one, and I'll set the points on this one are 5 points. Okay, I can add that question, and it's going to come in here at the bottom. It's already got your point values. It also keeps your objective alignment. So if you've aligned your questions in your test with objectives, that's going to stay there. It doesn't go away. So if you want to do it randomly, you do the same thing. You just click random instead of specific ones. Let's see if I have anything that's bigger than that. I don't think I do. So then I would click here. Actually, click that one. Select question banks. I'm going to tell them how many questions I want. I only want 1 of them, and I want them to be 5 points each. And I'm going to hit add question, and I won't know which one it's going to pick until I actually open them up. So if you give students 300 questions, you say there will only be 100, but you need to study these 300 because it could be any of these. You would have your question bank. So as you create your test, you would just go in, add to bank, select your question bank, and add your questions. Okay. You can also do it in bulk under options, and you can select them all. So if you spend a lot of time making a test that has an extensive number of questions and you want to save all of those to a question bank, you can do it all at one time. You don't have to do them individually. Okay. Any questions on that, on how to do that? Okay, another nice feature built in here is that you can actually share a question bank with other teachers. So what you would do is go to your resources, and let me find, okay, so I want to, I'm going to copy this to a group resource. So let's say I want to share this with all of the other teachers. I'm going to copy it there. And then if I come to my resources and go to group, I'm going to find that group. And now that question bank is now shared. So if you have a department and you're all using some common content, this can be a way that you can create some assessments without one person having to do everything by themselves. You guys can share these assessments. You can go in and add questions in. So if you have a bank that's shared among your department that you want to use, you can each create questions, put them in, and then you can go through and select not just the ones you've created, but also the ones that other instructors have created. So it's a way of making it a little more manageable, I guess, for lack of a better term. Okay. Any questions on that aspect of it? And this is relatively cut and dry. Once you've played with it a little bit, it really is not hard to do. It's just going to take a little bit of practice to get used to finding where to put things so that they work. Okay. So no questions on that particular aspect then.
Are you using AMP at all?
I have not been using it. We've been trained on it. Are you guys using the AMP component yet?
Not yet,
Okay.
but we will be.
Okay. I like it. There are a lot more question types that you can use. The basic saving things to your resources and importing, from what we have seen and heard, will not change a whole lot. But you can do like school-wide assessments on that, which is a wonderful built-in feature there. So if you have a nursing program and you have a general assessment that you want anyone going through your nursing program to take, you can create it through that AMP program and then push it out where all teachers would have access to it, and you can keep better records of how they perform on that. So there's a lot of really nice features built in there, and there are quite a few more question types in the AMP program. Have they shown you the question types that are available?
Yes, we had a brief training.
Okay.
So yeah.
I've been very, very impressed, and they are saying that some of those will eventually kind of trickle down to the non-AMP assessment program. But I like the fact that you can update things quickly. And it's not one where each teacher would have to re-import things. If you want to, like I said, if you have an assessment that all of your nursing students would take, one person could make that change and it would push out to everybody, which is a really, really nice feature of that, especially when you're looking at bigger programs, departments, and things of that nature. Now, did you have any particular questions about AMP or?
No.
Okay. And like I said, I haven't used it in the classroom as much. Our district has not paid for it, but I have been through some of the training on it, and I can definitely see, especially in the higher ed, how it would be very valuable because you'd be able to, again, push out those major assessments. If there are benchmark assessments and that kind of thing, you could push those out to everyone very, very quickly. Okay. Let me see what else we had. There were 3 or 4 things that we talked about: importing questions and creating banks, question banks. So the next thing that they were talking about was the automatic feedback assessment, or the automatic feedback feature in the assessments. And the nice thing about that, there's several things that you can pull from an assessment automatically. So I don't think I have any results to pull from here, but I probably do in some others. Let me go back to another course. And I'll pull it here. Let's see what we got. Let's look at my grade book. I've done so many of these lately, I'm trying to remember which ones I've actually done assessments versus just like homeworks and things. And I got to find something that I have some content to show you. Grading using Schoology. Let's try that one. Okay, so let's go to this one. If there's any results here that I can pull from. Okay, so what it allows you to do is there's automatic feedback that comes back from an assessment, and I will just show you what mine looks like in a live assessment. You won't be able to see any information that gives you anything, but it'll give you an idea of what it looks like. Let's see. A lot of mine is project based, so I have to think about where I've used assessments that I can pull up. Let's do this. I'm going to shrink this down so you guys can't see all these details.
Can you send text messages? No.
I'll go to a different quarter.
Messages Schoology. As a matter of fact, when Blackboard and text messages turned on.
Let's shrink that down just a little bit more. It's not letting me get to what I need. I'm just trying to find an assessment that I can pull up really quick for you. And we can see what that looks like. Daily grades. Where's managers? The nice thing here is that you can actually, let's go to categories. That'll work. That'll give me something. You can pull a lot of data from major grades, from assessments and things of that nature. And it's still not giving me what I want. So that's not gonna work the way I want it to today. It gives you a lot of feedback automatically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an assessment, and because I have you all as administrators, I'm going to make a couple of you not administrators, and that way I can show you what it actually looks like. So if Christy and Justine would go into that course for me real quick and go to that sample assessment, the sample test here, and take that, and I want to show you what the results look like and the statistics and the data you can pull from that, because that's when they talk about that automatic feedback, that's really where that comes from. So if you two wouldn't mind real quickly, and I'm going to log out and go in as Keisha, our imaginary student, and do the same thing, and that way we have some data to pull.
We have Justine here, but Christy left.
Okay.
So is Justine,
That's
is
fine.
one student enough?
Yep, that'd be fine, because I'm
Okay.
going to do one here as well.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. I'm not worried about it. In fact, if you get it wrong, it'd probably be better.
Yeah, got me. Next page. Hello.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and submit. I'm going to log her out. Now you can see here, for her, she's going to get automatic feedback as well. How long it took, what the total score was, that kind of stuff. And she's also going to get automatic feedback on what she got right or wrong. So that's a fairly cut and dry aspect of that. I'm going to go back into mine so I can now show you what that looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go back into the sample test. Now, you can see here we have results starting to show up, and Keisha's ought to show up as well because we just did that one. But it doesn't seem to be giving me her score yet. I just did it. Okay, let me try that again. See if I can figure out why it didn't show up. Here we go. Okay, so let me go back down to the course just to make sure I had the right thing. Okay, so let's start a new attempt. We're going to hit here just to give us some data to play with here. Okay, hopefully now we have, yes, I want to submit, and I'm going to come back down here and log back in as myself. Go back to our course page here real quick, and now we ought to have a little more data we can pull, hopefully 2 of them on here. So we're going to click on sample test. Now, you can see what the scores were automatically right off the bat. You can see that. You can also view by question, and this is another nice feature of the assessment. So if each question addresses a different component of something that you really need them to know, you can go by question. So you can see what the average was, what the average performance. If you had 10 points possible, then that means you only got 75% of your kids got it right. You can also click on see stats. So you can get a little more information even from that. You can also click view responses, and it's going to show you your individual responses for that particular question. So if it's something that's a really important concept that they really need to get, and this particular question addresses that concept, that's where you're going to want to go. You can also go into view attempts and see the student's individual test. Now, be very careful with this particular drop down. If you click view or edit, it's going to open the student test. If you click unsubmit, it's going to give them a chance to go back in and fix something or change something. If you click delete, it's going to get rid of everything they did. So we've had instances where one of the settings that I always turn on is right down here where it says resumable. I always turn that on, because if for some reason you have a device that loses connectivity, or you have a student who maybe their device dies and it's not resumable, it's going to submit it exactly as it is. They're not going to be able to go in and finish it. If it's resumable, they can go back in to finish it, but once they hit submit and tell it, yes, I want to submit, they can no longer go back and do anything. So if it's an issue, you're giving an assessment in your classroom, make it resumable, because if you have a student who accidentally clicks off the screen or closes out the assessment by accident or loses the internet, then you run into the problem of them, they kind of go into panic mode because they think that means they automatically failed. So that is yes.
So what if it's time and
if
you have it resumable? Does it just give them the minutes left that they have, or how does that work?
It should. I haven't really played with that a whole lot, so let's see what it does. I'm gonna go back in as I'm gonna unsubmit Keisha's, and we're gonna test this and see how it works, because I haven't played with that particular component. So let's test that theory and see how it works, and we'll figure this out together. So I'm gonna actually delete her attempt. Okay, let me make sure I have those settings saved. So it is 2 minutes. It is resumable. So let's go back in. I am assuming that it is going to allow you to only pick up where you left off, but let's test that and make sure that is correct before I tell you that for sure. So I'm going to go back into the courses. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to take that sample test again. And we're going to start it. And you're going to see here I have my time. And I'm going to, oops, I closed out. Yes, I want to leave that one. And then I'm going to go back up here and we're going to log back into it. And let's see how much time we have left. Just to test that out and make sure we're not completely off. Resume. Yep, it picks up exactly where they left off. So I thought that was the case, but I wanted to make sure before I told you. So let me put some info in here just real quick so we have that to look at. And if you have not done anything with the assessments in class, if you've built them but you haven't used them yet, I am going to show you a couple of features here that you can look at that are helpful. So give me just a second. Again, I'm going to switch out. We're going to go back into that. Go back into my course again. And what we see is once we have that data, we can pull up a lot of information pretty quickly. We can grade things. We can also, one thing I will tell you is the fill in the blank. I noticed that somebody had said earlier that they've used the fill in the blank a little bit. They've transferred those over. If a student misspells something, then it's going to count it wrong. So if they come in and they say, but that's what I wrote down, I just think I spelled it wrong. What you're going to want to do is come over here to that menu by their name. Okay, so if Keisha comes up and says, I know I got that right, I think I just spelled it wrong, the computer didn't tell me it was right, you're going to come over to view attempts by her name. And then from there, you're going to go down to view and edit. You have the ability to override any of these scores. You can also comment on the individual questions. So from those results, let's say she just forgot to put the comma or something like that. You can come over here and override it and put 10 or whatever percentage of the points you want to give them. So it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. Once you do it, you'll always have to hit Save Changes. The other thing I like about this is if you want to put a comment in here, it is a learning management, not a behavior management program. Okay, if I go down and save that, now here's the nice thing. They get immediate feedback from me. So as soon as I put that in there, she can now log in and look at it. She can log in and look at her score, get her grades and attendance here. And we can click here and we can say,
Yeah. So,
let me go back into the course and do it that way because I don't have it connected in. And she'll be able to see the individualized comments. So if you have comments about a specific component, she can view her assessment, and you see here it showed her my comment directly related to that question. So there's some features built into where you can give students immediate feedback as well. And they get it. It also shows up as soon as they click on the assessment, it's going to show any comments that you've made.
We don't want the students to see the best questions.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Do you wanna mention that? We just had a comment question.
Yes.
We don't want our students to be able to see the test after they take it.
Okay. That's easy to fix. That is an easy feature to turn off. So in the settings, let's say you don't want them to be able to see what they got right or wrong. Is that what you're talking about? Okay. So you'll see right here in your settings.
So they can see it right after they take it?
Memorize the question.
It depends on what you in your settings. So if you're going into the settings within the assessment, if you look right here, view submissions, There's three different options. If you don't want them to be able to view the submissions at all, you just turn that off. Okay? That means they can't see, they won't be able to see or view the results of the test or quiz or comments on any questions. That means they can see their score, but they can't go through and see which questions they got right or wrong. Okay? If you want them to be able to see what they got right or wrong, you can say yes, and it allows them to see it, but it doesn't tell them the right answer. So if they got it wrong, it's going to say you got this question wrong, but it's not going to pinpoint which one is the correct answer. Okay? If you say yes with correct answers, it's going to show them all of them they got right or wrong, and if they got it wrong, it's going to show them the correct answer highlighted there as well. So you have three different options there.
They see that?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Can you limit the amount of time that they can see it?
You can go back. So the best way to do that, if you want them to be able to go back, through the end of the class period and view their submissions, but not their corrected answers, and then you want to turn that off so all they can see is their score. What I would suggest is just at the end of that class, go into settings and switch it to no, and hit save changes, and it's retroactive. So now if I go back to the student here and I'll switch back to the student's view.
Is there a way for them to see that immediately after they take the test and then not be able to see it ever again? Right afterwards.
No, not unless you have them go in and see it and then you turn it off. That's something that you have to go in and turn on and off. So it says that, you see here, it doesn't give me the option to see the assessment anymore. It tells me what my score was, but it doesn't give me the ability to see it. It just tells me I've already taken it. So if you turn that feature off, they don't have that ability at all. If you turn it on where all they can see is their correct or incorrect answers, I'll show you what that one looks like too real quick. Give me just a second to switch that setting, and we can take a look at that one too. Okay, so I'm gonna.
And then it goes away? I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I will tell you this: Schoology actively takes suggestions into account. So if you feel like it would be a really nice feature to be able to have them go back and view it one time only, there's a way to do that within the Schoology website where you can go in and make suggestions, and then by doing that, if other people, I guess they one up it, they plus it, it moves up in terms of the priority that it becomes. So if it's a feature you'd really like to see involved and it's not there yet, then you can suggest that to them, and they do actively look at those. It's a very active process. So now this is the other option, and if they click on test or quiz, they can see that they got it right or wrong. They can see their submissions, but they can't see the right answer. Does that make sense? So they can see what they got wrong, but they can't see the correct answer.
No, our students want to see what they got wrong, and they want to know what the correct answer is, so they know what they're thinking.
Yes. So then
we put, in our settings, we put yes with the correct answers. So what you're saying then is once everybody has tested, we can just go in and shift that to no.
Yes.
And then be able to see at this point is their score.
Yes, and that is what I would suggest, is just go back once everybody's completed it, had a chance to look at what they got right and wrong, go back into the assessment, turn that feature off, and that way they couldn't go back. So if you pulled those same questions for a final exam, they couldn't go back and look at that and say, oh, well, I'll just go back and look at what I got right and wrong, the same question. That's what I would suggest. I think that would probably be your easiest solution to that, yes.
I have a question on just how you personally grade your assignments. Like under reminder, you have like 18 assignments that have been submitted and needed grading.
Yes.
So I click on those, and then there's a comment box above the assessment. And then there's, on the right-hand side, there's a comment placed and it says post. But then there's also a little thing that says, to return an assignment to the student, click on their name and then I get a message. And I just don't know what the best way is, so, because I want students to get the feedback. How do you do that?
What I generally do, well, let's take a look. So this one, for instance, I would click on his. It's going to take me to his assignment. This particular one, we were just playing with the rubric, the idea of using a rubric to grade. If you want to give them immediate feedback, this right-hand column is your best place to do that. Because as soon as, where will it show up for them? Okay, let me go in and give me just a second. I'll show you. I'll show you the student view of that so you can see exactly what they see. Let me go back into our course, and I'm going to go in here to an assignment. Actually, let me go back to the child view just so you can, the student view, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So I'm going to go into sample assignment, and this should be the one for this course. I'm going to submit an assignment. I don't know the answer. Okay, so if I do this and I submit, that's going to show me here that I submitted. So now the teacher view is going to look like this. And you're going to see I now have another. Okay, so sample assignment. Let's see if I can find it on here. Get back over here. I'm going to click on sample assignment. And see, now I see that she's done that. So I'm going to say, you really need to rewatch the video and answer the question. Okay. Now, when I hit post, it's going to show up here. It's going to show what time. Okay. I haven't graded it. It's not a graded assignment on this one because I didn't set it that way, but I can change that. So let me go in and I'm going to actually set it as a graded assignment. Okay. Now, what they will see is your comment. You'll see that they didn't. Okay. You're going to see here, posted a submission comment for sample assignment. So I'd go back to that. Assignment submitted. And here's my comment. So this is the student view. This is exactly what she would see. Okay. This is, if it's ongoing feedback, let's say they're working on a research paper and you want to give ongoing feedback, this is where I would do it. Now, if it's a one-time shot and you want to give them some feedback, but just it's already graded, but you want them to understand why they got what they got, I would do it through the grading feature, and I'll show you that here too. There's two different ways you can put comments in. So if I have one here, now you can see here I can put a grade in and I can also put a grade comment. The grade comment only shows to the student if you tell it to. So if it's a note to help you remember why they got a certain grade, you can put that in there. It'll show up in your grade book. If you click show to student, then the comment is going to show up in the student grade book as well. So let's say I'm going to give her a 25 out of 100. You didn't even come close to fully answering the question. Please look closer at what's being asked in the future. Okay, so I want to show that to her. I'm going to submit that. That grade is now in the grade book. And if I go to the grade book, you're going to see it. And you're also going to see there's a comment bubble. So if I want to see that, it's going to show up right here. You can also do it directly in the grade book, by the way.
Okay, do you ever, like I tried posting a comment on that right-hand side with a quick one, and that allows me to like attach a file. Do you ever do that?
Occasionally. I haven't used that a whole lot. but I have some, yes. And the nice thing about that is if it's something specific, you have the ability to go in and do that. So now, if you look at her grades, let me show you real quick what this looks like. This is the student view again. If I go to the home page and I want to see the grades, she should now have a grade in here. And in the grade book itself, that comment shows up. So if it's something that's an ongoing conversation, you want to put it in that right-hand column. If it's something that's just going on the final grade, you put it in the grade book itself or on the assignment grading screen, it shows up in the grade book. So there's two different ways to give that instant feedback.
One more question then.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, like I will have some lengthy explanation, like maybe they have 10 questions and I have to explain each one of them because I got it wrong or whatever. I just experimented with, because there was this like a little hint on the right-hand side below the post thing that says click on the student's name. I don't see it on your screen, but I clicked on their name and then I clicked, I think message shows up. And then it looks like it's just an email. I guess I just experimented with this week. I assume then that they just get an email from me.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And that should show up right here. So that will show up here as a message from you. You can do that here as well. If you don't want it directly connected to the assignment itself, you can just go directly here and create a new message, address it to them, and send it to them. One thing I will show you in the assessment or in the assignment when they submit something, whatever it is, you have the ability to annotate that, and there's a lot of different annotations. You can highlight stuff, you can strike through. So if I want to put something here, I can click there. I can put in comments. There's a little sticky note here. So if I want to put a sticky note right there, I can come in here and put a comment about that particular part. So this is not thorough enough for the assignment. And then hit save. Now when the student goes in and looks at it, they're going to see those annotations. So if it's a larger paper that you're wanting to annotate, you have the ability of doing that and giving them specific feedback in the area that it needs to be in. So let's go back and we can look at this same thing again. Sample assignment. And if I click on that, now I'm going to see some annotations in here as well. So I can actually click on that. I can also click to turn that off and just click on whichever part I want to see. So if it's specific annotations, if it's a longer assignment, a longer paper, and you want to highlight on it, you also have the ability as the instructor, you can write directly on it, and that's really handy if you have the app on an iPad or an Google tablet, because if you have a stylus, you can write directly on the screen, and you can annotate as if you were annotating on paper. So I use that quite a bit when I have longer things that are turned into me. I like that feature a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let me log back in here one more time. Took off my 3.
Okay. Can we go back and view tests?
Yes.
When you go to view tests, you can't see the entire test.
Okay, let me go back and look and see what you're talking about. So if we go to the assessment, okay, so where are you talking about view test?
From studying,
Okay.
turn that piece off. Is that what you're talking about, Sherry? You turn the,
No, so when you develop a test, and you want to see your questions as an entire test,
It's the whole test.
you can't see the whole test.
You want to go to preview. So once you've created your assessment, you want to go to preview. And you're going to see it just like it does for students, including your timer. But it doesn't actually score it, obviously. But you can scroll through and actually see exactly what the students will see.
Is there some way, when my students take tests, sometimes I like to just go through the test with them afterwards, and I see the questions and the answers. I haven't been able to find out if you can do that in Schoology. Blackboard, you can see the whole test with feedback and correct answers. Is there a way to see that here?
The easiest way, I think probably your easiest way of doing that would be to, you can do a print test and choose what size you want, and it's going to open it as a PDF. So if you want to go through it with them, you can go through it this way. Now it doesn't give you the corrected answers on that one, but at the end it does give you an answer key. So if that helps, if maybe that helps going over it, if you want to be able to go over it with them.
But it just, like that one said, all of the above, so it doesn't list everything then. I mean, the whole question.
I think you can view the exams.
Yeah. Now, if you're wanting to go over it with individual students, you could open the view attempt with them.
No, I don't want to pick out one student, I just want to go over the whole test with them.
Okay. So then what I would do is hit the preview, go back into it and preview it. And you can go through and do it. I mean, you could view them yourself and go over each question with them if you wanted to do it that way.
No, I mean, I don't have that individual.
'Cause I don't know that there's a way to actually go in and view all of them. Now, one thing I can tell you too is in your settings, you can do, like, I taught special ed for a number of years, so I tend to do one question per page. But you can also do use page breaks, and that changes it to where it's all on the same screen. So if you go to the preview now, it's not going to be each individual question. You're going to see all of them on here at one time. So you could just scroll through and go over all of them in one screen. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
our next session starts at 4, so
Okay.
I think we're gonna wrap up. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put a link in this course in just a minute. If you guys won't mind sometime the next day or two, if you would go in and just click on that link and fill out, it's a Google Doc. It's a Google form actually. And they pull that information just to help assess the course itself and see if there's anything that we need to change or tweak in any way. And if you don't mind filling that out for me, and then we'll take that into account too. And if you have any other questions, you run into any problems, feel free to message me, or you can go back into this questions as we go discussion, and you can post them there, and I'll see if I can get you answers. Okay.
All right, very good.